Hi there, I'm Helen Tracey Noren, the Communication Specialist for Colerain Township. Today on Talking with Colerain, we're going to be discussing holiday hazards in the 9th annual Keep the Wreath Red campaign. And to help us do that, I've got a special guest with me today. It's the Special Projects Manager for the Department of Fire and EMS, Bob Rielage.
Hi, Helen. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for coming in today.
Well, that's no problem. I would enjoy it.
So first off, tell us a little bit about the Keep the Wreath Red campaign and where the idea for it came from.
As you mentioned, we're in our 9th year here in Colerain with the Keep the Wreath Red program. And what we have done is actually borrowed something from the 1950s. Naperville, Illinois actually started this in 1954, so we're talking, almost 70 years. And they had a really great success in that city with reduction of the incidence of fire during the holidays. So Chief Walls from Colerain, when he was assistant chief, suggested that we start this, and we have. Interesting enough, it is spread across the country. I was in Pensacola, Florida last Christmas, and right in front of the courthouse and each of the fire stations in Pensacola, a large wreath with the entire, program for the Keep the Wreath Red outlined to the citizens on a sort of like a menu board. It was really interesting, sort of like the visiting firefighter that I am, to find out how their program was also progressing. I would say that across the country, there are at least a couple hundred fire departments that have adopted this program, and hopefully we're getting the holiday fire safety message across to the public as they go through the various streets in front of our fire stations and fire headquarters.
So this program is really about awareness, right? Especially between the Thanksgiving holiday and the Christmas Day holiday, correct?
Well, it's actually just through New Year's as well. What we do is have the media notified every week of the serious structure fires that we've had in Colerain, a brief recap of what we found, and then a holiday safety tip that's on there. During the holidays, everything from candles, which folks normally light candles in their home, whether they're scented or not. But during the holidays, there's obviously more candles around, perhaps on dining room tables or, on end tables, things of this nature. So candles, a big thing. Lighting. The biggest problem that we have is when people start to decorate the trees and they haven't tested the lights, haven't looked at to see if there's any freighting, anything of this nature that could short and cause enough heat to build up. Even with an artificial tree, yes, they're safer than real trees, but igniting the plastic. If you have a real tree, we always recommend that you keep it in water, that wherever you've gotten it, you get a fresh cut on the end of the tree so that it's able to take in water and keep fresh. And you actually have to feel the needles of the tree probably at least every couple days to make sure that they're pliable. When they start to crack, when they start to fall down, that's maybe the time when you have to realize that tree needs to move out. And so consequently, those are the kinds of things that we've seen. Some of the other things that we have during this time, especially during Thanksgiving, but it also peaks during Christmas and New Year's, are cooking safety. Believe it or not, cooking fires cause about 51% of all residential structure fires. And you might say, well, it'll never happen to me. But just last year, from the statistics that are coming from the National Fire Protection Association, there were almost 300,000 structure fires in residences last year. Now that's roughly almost 1,000 a day. So, and of that, about 90% of the loss of life or serious injuries come from those structure fires that we have, every day in our time.
Other holiday hazards might include something like space heaters, or if you have a generator, right?
Absolutely. From the space heater aspect, and I know that some people use space heaters, is making sure that if you have a space heater, that the circuit, either the fuse or the circuit breaker, is strong enough to handle, because that heat from a from a portable heater is generated because it's actually a controlled short circuit, and it's actually taking up a very large amount of the electricity. We've had a fire recently where we believe that it was electrical in nature, and we found that there were actually 3 heaters plugged into the same circuit.
Oh, no.
That's what overloaded, we believe, that circuitry and caused a short circuit within the house in a very serious fire.
So how do you feel like in the 8 years that Colerain has been doing this Keep the Wreath Red program, how do you feel like the community has received it?
Well, I think that, like any of the public safety or safety programs that are there are those folks who are totally oblivious to what we try and do, even though we almost hound it every week in the media and throughout the year express what serious fires we've had and what the cause was and how it could be prevented. So some are oblivious, but for the majority of the people, I think as they go past any one of our 5 fire stations or fire headquarters, they will look up maybe just for a second and say, oh, wait a minute, there's another white light. And that means that there has been another residential structure fire that has caused enough damage that we listed as a structure fire. Some of the ones that we get dispatched to wind up not being. It could be a faulty damper on a chimney in a fireplace, and it just backed up smoke or something of this nature. And there's no real damage other than the inconvenience of the folks from that are residing there. But when we have a kitchen fire, or we have in one instance that we'll talk about a serious fire that does a tremendous amount of damage, then we feel that's one that we need to change the bulb from red to white.
Mm-hmm. It's a great program, really. What would you say is the best defense against house fires, kitchen fires, some of the examples that you've talked about?
Well, as far as the kitchen fires are concerned, what we have found most is that people forget that they're cooking. And there are a couple things that they just need to remember. Number one, that if they're cooking or if they've left a burner on even after that it's there, that they need to check when it's all finished. We found that at night, some people start to cook something and then get very tired and lay down, and before they know it, they have a kitchen fire. There are other aspects that can help. Obviously, one, if you're buying a newer appliance, is with an electric range, there are now built-in thermostats in the burners that will not allow that burner to go over the ignition temperature of grease in the skillet. It's relatively new, so I don't think everybody will have those. But we also find that if someone is getting older, they might forget that there's some food that they're cooking. What we recommend is usually called the wooden spoon program, which is if they have a wooden mixing spoon, pick it up and put it in one of your hands and walk around with it. And you look down and go, oh, I've got a spoon. That means I've got something on the stove. And
smart.
So it's a clever reminder of that. The ultimate situation, and it's after the fact, is if there is a fire, those people need to be notified. And from that standpoint, there is nothing that's better than having a smoke detector or several smoke detectors in your home. One of the fires that we had this week, the individual who was home was notified because it was in a concealed space that there was a fire in their home because their smoke alarm's activated. To the point that when I talked to the captain of one of the first-in units, he said, yeah, it was really loud in there. So we basically took down the smoke alarms and silenced them, and then finished up what we needed to do. But there are all sorts of types of smoke detectors. This one, if it'll go off for me, That's generally the sound that a smoke detector makes. This one is an older style. It still has a 9-volt battery, and we recommend that be changed at least once a year. The more advanced units, and they activate relatively the same, have a sealed 10-year battery in, and these are the kind that we install in our smoke detector program with the Greater Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky chapter of the American Red Cross. If you're buying these, they're slightly more, but they have a 10-year battery, and so, you mark on the outside, or its manufacture date is on the outside, and basically then you know that the whole unit needs to be replaced, every 10 years. Now, you might say, okay, well, there's a cost between, say, this one at $10 and this one at $30, but by the time you're replacing 10 batteries and getting up on a ladder and doing all those kinds of things,
Right.
this becomes out about the same over the same period of time of 10 years.
And really, when you think about the cost of what it can save, your life, your home,
Oh, absolutely.
all the things that are inside, your loved ones, I think it's a negligible kind of
Absolutely.
expense.
But those folks that, need smoke detectors can contact us either with a text message, I'm sorry, not a text message, but an email to smokedetectors@colerain.org, or by calling us at our non-emergency number, 513-825-6143. And basically, we will call them back, make a time at their convenience, and when we have a window of opportunity to come out and install a smoke detector in their home.
That's fantastic. So that's just one of the many risk reduction efforts that
Yes.
the Department of Fire and EMS is doing. What are some other efforts that you guys have going on that the community can take advantage of?
Oh, well, we do a lot of different things. We have some really great folks that teach our CPR and AED programs. I'm very happy that the legislators in Columbus are talking about having it mandatory to have AEDs in every school. So, we train people in that. A lot of public buildings, including, large big box stores to malls and, any places of public assembly should have AEDs. And it's really more comforting if you've had that training to know exactly what you can expect. With an AED, it will talk you through that process if you're not familiar with it. But to be perfectly honest, sometimes you hear the instructions coming over the AED and you say, what did they say? So knowing how to activate it, knowing how to put on the pads that are needed to defibrillate someone, all of that we can do. We also do general first aid. People that are in need, maybe in an industrial or a warehouse setting, something of this nature. We can teach them a Red Cross certified, first aid program as well. So there are a number of things. We also now have added to our community risk reduction programs. We have a community paramedic, and Chelsea is there to not only help people who may need some ongoing medical situation to get to the proper organizations so that they can, get the assistance that they need. Or the other thing is, if she's there, she might look for tripping hazards. With older citizens, tripping hazards are probably one of the things. We probably make 4 or 5 calls a day just for people injured for falls. So anything from throw rugs to steps and stairs and treads on the steps, things of this nature that she can recommend and help. Again, if the folks can't do that themselves, getting the proper agencies together to make their home safer. That is one of the things that are there. And then we also have another fire safety educator, Carrie, who basically goes to the schools and a lot of the programs that are out and about. For example, this December we will have Pictures with Santa time for the families to come to our Station 109 at Kemper and Pippin and have the children's picture taken with Santa, and at the same time have a fire safety literature there that can help make places safer. So again, our outreach is there. Sometimes we just need to know from someone outside that they need it, and we will come in and help. We're much more than just fire and EMS. We are really an all-risk fire department, meaning that we're trying to stop injuries, deaths needlessly throughout, not only Colerain, but with messages like this, perhaps in the greater Cincinnati area.
Right. That's one thing I absolutely love about Colerain Department of Fire and EMS. It's that preventative care, the in the moment need and care that you provide, and even post care too. So if someone has an episode where they might overdose or they have something like that, we do have a team that responds afterwards to see if there's any programs they need to get in connection with, and that follow-up.
And you're talking about our quick response team, which is, again, a paramedic, someone from one of the addiction centers. And so consequently, they come, they try and make contact with a person, trying to get them in as soon as possible to a rehabilitation aspect. So again, all of that is available from Colerain.
So Bob, after the holidays, during the New Year time, there seems to be a lot of fireworks. And with the laws changing, sometimes people can get confused. So what can you tell us about fireworks?
Sure. The fireworks law changed about 2 years ago when the legislators decided that individuals could have their own private fireworks in their yard, in their property. Prior to that, the only fireworks that were legal for 4th of July or for any of the other holidays that we celebrate in that manner was if there was a licensed pyrotechnician. But what they made very clear is that only consumer grade fireworks, which is 1.4 G, fireworks that are sold at some of the fireworks stands around both the state, and I know there's some in both northern Kentucky and Indiana, that those can be brought in and they can be discharged if there are safe distances. And if you go on, for example, the Fire Marshal's webpage and Google fireworks, those are all come up. The biggest situation from that is that there are safe distances, that you ignite only one unit at a time. And the biggest thing that we see from an injury standpoint, other than if people are too proximal to the fireworks themselves, are actually sparklers. Sparklers are not considered fireworks per se. They're novelty work, but they burn at a temperature of 2,000 degrees. So giving them to a 5-year-old and expecting them not to go, oh, wow, and getting burned on the hands, that's where we see the most injuries with fireworks. Second is if a projectile tips over and goes right into the crowd and basically injures somebody, because usually when a fireworks hits something solid and it's designed to go up in the air and burst, that'll go ahead and burst when it hits something that's solid. If that's an individual, that can be a really serious burn. So again, fireworks are there. The other thing I think that we need to discuss is that alcohol and fireworks do not mix well. So if you are going to have a fireworks display in your backyard, I know it may be hard on New Year's, but you have to refrain from alcohol from that standpoint. And just remember that there's also a legal liability if you bring in your neighbors and have it for the neighborhood in your backyard and something goes wrong. That new law doesn't give you immunity from any sort of legal action that's there. So take it very seriously. Take it as if it's a serious responsibility for you and your family, and be safe with fireworks at the New Year's.
I've heard about some different safety precautions you can take as well, having a bucket of water, for example, nearby. What are some other tips that you can give people if they're trying to responsibly shoot off fireworks?
Certainly, and the bucket of water is good, and especially I think one of the things from a neighborhood aspect is cleanup. There have been times in my neighborhood, which is a very nice neighborhood, all of a sudden you wake up on New Year's Day and, you know, there's a pile of boxes and, you know, spent fireworks that are in the street because someone has done that. And so, you know, being responsible, I think, is one of the biggest things from that standpoint. You know, we obviously will respond if somebody's injured. If a fireworks goes, you know, in the wrong direction, we have seen it go through open windows and catch living rooms on fire, seriously. So it is a busy day as well. But that is sort of unusual, but it's probably happened a half dozen times that I can recall. And, you know, you might say, why is there a window open? Well, I can't tell you why there'd be a window open, but, you know, I've actually seen it penetrate a screen that's in a window and go in and set a couch on fire.
Oh my goodness.
So there are some hazards with regard to it.
That's great. And so if people want to learn more about the Keep the Wreath Red campaign, the CPR classes, any of the wonderful things that you've mentioned, how can they connect?
Well, that's good. As far as the Keep the Wreath Red, we do give an update every week to the news media and to you for our Facebook pages and our social media. For any of the other programs, again, the smoke detector program, I think, is probably one of the most beneficial that we have, and that is smoke detectors with an S at colerain.org, or our non-emergency number 513-825-6143. And actually, if you get that number and you're looking, for example, for our community paramedicine person to come out and do a home survey, they can transfer the call or take a message and have either Chelsea or Carrie or any of the others that are in the risk reduction area to get back to that individual.
How wonderful. Well, thank you so much for talking to me, Bob, and for being on Talking with Colerain.
Well, thank you for having me, Helen.